Hi, I wanted to share a dream that the Lord gave me about almost 9 years ago now. In this dream, when I woke up from it, there was a sense of urgency that it felt like it was happening at that moment, or it was going to happen very soon. And I'll say this dream happened almost 9 years ago, and has not left me. I have not had a dream like it before or since. And it involves a large group of people. There's a category for each person here on this earth, and I wanted to share it. I hadn't ever thought to share it on a big platform before. um, so in this dream, there was a large wooded area. These were all like really tall old trees. They were Douglas firs, if you know what those are. They're really tall, really strong trees. And in this forest were two really big plots of land that had been cleared. Yeah, like clearings or campsites, you might say. And each campsite had a lot of picnic tables where people were kind of hanging out. In our group, there were three different groups of people in our campsite, which I'll discuss later. The most prevalent group were Christians, believers in Jesus, followers of Jesus. And so I was there with my family and like extended family, kids, stuff like that. And then across from us, in between us and the next camp was a very thick, impenetrable, like swath of briars, thorns, maybe 20, 30 feet deep. Like you could not get from our camp to their camp. They couldn't get from their camp to our camp. And the people in that group were people who hated God. They had such hard hearts that they were not going to become Christians. They were not receptive at all. There was no hope for them, and they were okay with that. They did not want anything. Anyway, you get the idea. So you got these two different camps. We're all doing our own thing, and then a roaring, rushing wind out of nowhere comes and completely levels all of the trees in our camp, the Christians' camp. All of the trees in an instant are on the ground. There's no watching the trees fall. It's like the trees are up and then they're down. And in the dream, I knew that this storm was from God. I knew that this wind was from God. I knew that God sent it. God was in it somehow. And but it was terrifying. It was so scary. I'd never heard a sound like that before. You know how people go through some experience and then they don't know how to relate it because there aren't words for whatever reason. We just don't have the vocabulary. That happened to me in this dream because this sound was I guess you could compare it to a steam engine, maybe like roaring by. Like it's not just the sound, it's the vibration with it, or the magnitude, like the sound waves, I guess, the shock waves. So the shock waves of the air, of the wind, leveled the trees in our camp. And we were all like diving for cover. I think my stepdad had thrown me to the ground to cover me from the trees that were falling. And then the next instant, we're all trying to like pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off, look around in bewilderment, like what just happened, checking to see if they're okay, checking those around us. Well, lo and behold, nobody in our camp was injured. There was not a single injury. There was no death. All of the trees had landed in between picnic tables, in between people. Nobody was hurt. All of the Christians were okay. One of the other groups, one of the three, So, sorry, Christians, and then another of the three was people whose hearts were open, people who still had hope. There was still hope for them to become Christians. They might not necessarily be on that path, but they were in our camp, which I found very interesting when I woke up and was thinking about it later. And there's one more group, which I'll talk about in a little bit. So us Christians and this other group were who had just experienced this. We're just beside ourselves, like, what in the world? So we're gathering ourselves up, and as we get our bearings, as we get to our feet, boom, it hits again on the other side of the briars, that other camp, the people who hate God. And again, I knew this storm was from God. I knew that the wind was from him, that the shock waves were from him, the sound, everything was God. And again, it leveled the trees in an instant. It was faster than light. All the trees were knocked down, and as we looked across the hedge, there was complete silence because nobody in that camp had survived. It was completely silent there because there was no life anymore. Everybody had been wiped out in an instant. And we stood there just in shock. What do you do? And it was really, really sobering to see that where those people had been standing was just death. So we're standing there in our camp. All of us are fine. Nobody's hurt at all. And then I turn to the side, and I see something happening out of the corner of my eye. I turn and there is an angel standing there, and I couldn't see the angel, but I knew there was an angel there. But what I could see, he had a sword, and I could see the zing, it was like a white and blue lightning. Light would zing as he was killing people in our camp. This is the third group. These people were hypocrites. These people were pretenders. I think pretenders is probably a better word, because I think hypocrites I don't know. These people were just pretending to be Christians. They were maybe they were cultural Christians. I don't know exactly, but they were pretenders. And this angel was killing them. And there weren't a lot. It was like just a couple of, or 2 or 3 people, but they were in our camp, and this angel was terrifying. Like, I can imagine the fear that people a long time ago in Bible times had when they saw Gabriel and Raphael or whoever, very afraid. Well, I was feeling fear, and I wasn't even seeing them. So I knew this angel was here. He was killing people who were pretenders. They were not supposed to be in our camp. They were fakes. And in my fear, I dove to cover my son, who was nearby. But he wasn't in danger of being killed. It was just the terror of this powerful being of God who nobody could thwart. You can't even see him, and his lightning sword is slicing people. Anyway, my son was okay. There was no need to be concerned for him, but I didn't know that. Sorry. The fear was stronger than what I knew, that he would be safe. Anyway, okay, so after the angel had finished taking out the fakes in our group, then there was calm, and we were at that point pretty stunned. And everybody who was left, which is the Christians, and then the people who still had hope for salvation, there was still light in them, or I don't know quite the words for it, but like there was still receptivity. They were still receptive. There was still an openness in their hearts. They weren't hardened. That's probably what it is. They did not have hardened hearts. So we were gathering ourselves up, and a friend of mine kind of appeared in the group, and I was like, well, what do we do now? And she said, well, now we go home. And so we all went home, whatever that was. And then I woke up, and I think that as I've thought about it over the years and tried to figure out what it means, I've landed on a couple of things, but there's a lot of symbology there or symbolism that I don't fully understand. I tend to think of things in black and white, and I think it was interesting for me to see that there were these different categories of people. There were 4 different categories of people in this dream anyway. And I'm a pre-trib rapture believer, and I feel as though the dream in some ways shows that God always deals with his people first, but not to harm us. He disciplines, he chastises, he corrects, he punishes his own people, but not to harm us. It is always to refine us. It is always to bring us closer to him, to purify us and loosen our grip on this world. So the trouble that came to us was not for our harm. Whatever the trouble that was, I don't know. I don't know if it was physical or what, but the trouble that comes to those outside of our camp, and even the pretenders and the fakes inside of our camp, that is a whole other kind of thing. And so no matter what we face in this life, we have confidence that even the painful things, even the really, really hard things that we go through, the tragedies, the loss, the pain, all of that is not meant to destroy us. It is, and it won't. God will not allow anything to destroy his children. So I just wanted to share that as an encouragement. And I don't know if there are parts of that resonate with you, that the Holy Spirit has spoken to you about in the past. Please let me know your ideas, your thoughts. I'd love to hear about that. Like, what does the storm represent? What do the trees represent? Or maybe it's nothing. Like, I don't know. But thank you very much for your time. Have a good day. Bless you.